Welcome everybody to another video here at Rex Animation and Film Studio. I am James Hungo and I will be guiding you through today's topic, which is drawing the female body, or at least how I approach it. Just a disclaimer, this video, in order for you to follow through, you should already have a basic understanding of drawing shapes and manipulating them in different perspectives and I guess shapes, break it down, twist it, as I'm doing right now. You should at least have that understanding of how shapes look and feel in 3D space. You can do cylinders, you can do squares, you can add them together, make them go through each other or interact with each other. There is a video on Proko's channel that addresses this shape drawings way better than I can explain it, so you can head over there. Link will be in the top right corner. Other than that, this is a very helpful skill or practice that you can use both for illustration and animation principles as well. So I'm in the line of animation, and drawing things in perspective is a useful tip, trick and skill to have. So just putting that out there, we can dive straight into the video. So for the basic construction, I start off with the rib cage in this case, and then I have a center line that helps me guide through which way actually the body is going to go. So after the rib cage, I have like a half cylinder going out of the rib cage into sort of a panty line, and from there the legs are just basically cylinders on each side, and that's just the way you should think about it. And here I'm drawing like the feet. I was struggling to draw this in the actual, or picture it in my head for the perspective, so I had to bring in a little help from just Photoshop's line tools, and then I could draw that into perspective. Also, another tip for the legs: make sure you always have a slight curve inwards. This is sort of basic accurate representation. If you don't believe me, you can actually look it up. Use reference images, either Pinterest, Google, wherever you get it. Very helpful. And this is where those drawing shapes in perspective actually comes in, when you have to draw the feet actually in perspective to make it look like it's actually flat. And here I am actually erasing the lines that I've been using and actually adding contour lines to it, to actually help bring us that familiar shape that we know as the human body, at least for the belly. And yeah, for the last part I add on the head following that center line, and now I'm here just constructing the rib cage connecting to the breast itself. And that's the zigzag pattern I got, at least I learned like to construct the shoulders with, and I like it. And after that, cylinders for the arms on both sides, and that's about it, to be honest. And basically the hands, obviously if you guys want tutorials on this, there are tons of stuff, but if you do want me to do one of, you can just let me know. So we have our first pose. So basically the construction phase would be draw your pose from shapes, draw the body over the shapes, and then clean up and final adjustments. At least that's how I was doing it. So my construction method for the female body, I start with the rib cage. I'm going to divide this into 3. Rib cage, a line going into half of the belly's length, and then the rest downwards onto where the legs are beginning from the hips. So obviously the shapes that I'm making are more advanced. That's because I'm fully aware of what's underneath the skin itself. Also, another tip for you guys, it wouldn't hurt to learn human anatomy if that is the direction that you are heading. So yeah, so those are the 3 steps that I use and manipulate in different shapes and perspectives. So let's do one more, and then I'll show you guys how I actually connect those shapes to the collarbone, to the shoulders, and to the arm itself. So following that center line, always remember the collarbones sort of has to curve in slightly, again, just slightly, not too much. And the edge of the breast lines, just think of it as going straight to the collarbone center, and that might help you. Same goes for the legs in terms of construction. It shapes that line, curve in slightly, and then you have your construction method. Basically, I sort of have always some sort of center line to help me know if I'm doing everything slightly accurately than what I would have been doing it without any help from that. Basically, the shapes that I'm doing are slightly exaggerated, and I'm gonna show you here the parts that I exaggerate mostly. Would be the inner thighs, like the hips, the inner thighs, and the love handles. Understanding all that will help you also give those curves to your femur body. But that also comes with some knowledge behind it, as you would also have to know what's underneath that, like I said before. And here I'm just drawing from memory. I know I've seen this somewhere, but it stuck with me, and that's what I use as like a base understanding of what's going on underneath the skin itself. You have the pelvis itself, and how the bone connects to the pelvis, and how your muscles actually connect to the pelvis and help make those shapes. So I know for a fact that there's a muscle tissue coming from the pelvis itself, curving around your leg like that, and sort of distorting the leg, having it have that oval shape in the inner thighs, and how it actually connects to the knee itself, or how the knee itself is constructed from with the bones itself. All basic understanding. You don't actually have to learn every single thing, but just enough to know or understand the shapes and why they are the way they are. Same goes for the upper body part as well. Knowing those muscle tissues above the breast glands as well. So parts like that, it does help you in knowing how to manipulate them if you have to draw a certain pose. For example, if the person is lifting off their arms, you would know what gets stretched, what doesn't get stretched, how long it should be, or how short it should be, regards to the perspective itself. Same goes here for, obviously I'm drawing all these things just from the front, and that's just one part of it. Drawing from the back is also another part of it. Just look up some reference images on human anatomy and just break it down from there. Obviously these are my own, I'm using my own construction method based off what I've learned, and that's helped me so far. And there you have it, sort of like a preview or understanding of what I have in constructing these shapes. Alright, so obviously the goal for me is to try to construct this from memory. So here I'm working on a pose, yet I did not know what pose I'm working on. I was just constructing and going on along as I'm going. So my construction method for this basically is I add shapes onto other shapes, and then that shapes make up the entire body, rather than drawing out the entire body and then fixing up the shapes itself. So for example, I would add the first part of the leg go in that direction, and then I would add another part of the leg go in the other direction, and that's just the way I construct things. I don't know if it's because of how I do it when I animate, because that's how I also use the same construction method as well. So I draw and erase a lot until the shape feels nice. That's how I work. So don't be scared of mistakes. They help you know if you're on the right path or not. So just put that pencil down onto that paper and just draw those lines. So like I said, draw the first part of the leg and then draw the second part of the leg, and that's how I just construct everything. And at this point here, I was having a hard time thinking of the perspective for which the feet are gonna be drawn, or the foot itself. So I just had to flip the canvas, and that sort of just gave me a wow moment where I knew exactly what I had to do as soon as I flipped the canvas. So always flip your canvas, very helpful. I mean, if you're doing this on paper, you can always just flip your paper around and retrace the image. At least that's how I did it before I had a tablet. And you might be wondering, like, I draw everything and then the head last. That's just the way I do it, I guess. Depending on the main focus of the drawing. In this case, it was just the body itself, so, and then the head last into relation to the body. So this is where that knowledge would come in with drawing things into shapes and perspective. For example, what she's sitting on should match in terms of perspective. So do those exercises, very, very useful. And this is just the cleanup part. I'm just doing the final touches, and there we go. That's the result of just drawing from memory. Obviously I obviously I had to have that library build up in my mind before I had to do any of this. So practice a lot. Here I'm trying to do a second pose, and same as before, just having different leg shapes, trying to twist it up and see how I'm gonna approach this as well. And everything is just shapes. Shapes and a bit of help from human anatomy knowledge. As I said before, I construct my poses by adding on shapes to the existing ones to make up the entire pose, rather than drawing an entire pose and then fixing other parts to make up the pose. So I'll add one shape at a time and then just keep on adding and just keep on adding until the pose itself is done. So this was a pretty quick one, and by this time I was already warmed up, so on to the last pose. So this is the last pose, and she's gonna be sort of resting on her arm. Here I'm having my center line, basically gestural line, and also something you need to look into in terms of pose, but I'm just here showing how I approach this in different poses, because I mean every pose has its own challenges, and knowing your shapes is very helpful in terms of drawing things in proportion and having that volume match, so you know, like the head is not too big or the head is not small. And here you would think the chest is big, but initially the legs were actually just short, and then by making it longer it actually just balanced everything out. And it's just basic understanding of the shape itself that helps you correct those. And that's the cleanup of it, and here are all the poses. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it helped you a lot, at least in terms of how I understand and construct my poses. And thank you for watching. See you in the next video.